All right, I'm gonna ruffle some more feathers like I did in the last video about wacky rigging. Everybody was saying, oh, Brian, you created clickbait. You guys don't even understand what clickbait really is. Clickbait is a title that says one thing, but the video is another. When I give you these videos, it just upset you because you don't like the title, okay? This title is about why I think it's a great idea for all anglers to learn how to sight fish. It's gonna make sense. I'm about to give you exactly what my title says, okay? If I said, this is why everyone should learn how to sight fish, and then my video was about Justin Bieber, then it's clickbait. I just did the straight up fishing school in Brooksville, Florida, and I had a lot of guys there. We got into this discussion. Also, thank you if you're watching this video and you did come to the straight up fishing school right there in Brooksville, Florida. Dude, I enjoyed your company and your time and your laughter. That was a great time. I promise you, we're definitely going to do another straight up fishing school there in Brooksville, Florida. But we got into this discussion. Someone was asking about, I was talking about fishing a prop bait. And while I was making the cast that I was making with my prop bait in these little areas of lily pads, and we got on the discussion of understanding where bass spawn and how they use different areas to spawn. And I think a lot of the reason why one of my favorite ways to catch fish is fishing for bass that, like, blind casting for bedding bass. All right, I think I got an affinity for that. I think that's the right word to use. Or I got good at fishing that way because for so many years on my home lake where we have very clear water, a lot of visibility, we do a lot of sight fishing here at home. I got used to watching fish behavior by sight fishing. And it's a good idea for you guys to sight fish, even if you don't like sight fishing, even if you don't do it in tournaments. That's not the point. Learning how to sight fish will teach you so much about bass behavior. And learning that bass behavior is going to lead you to be good in other techniques. With that being said, this is what I'm trying to tell you. Sight fishing here at home, I was able to see, I put so many hours in way back 10, 15, 20 years ago, sight fishing. It showed me how fish react to my bait. It showed me how fish react to different colors. It showed me how my bait responds in the water. A lot of times when you think you're barely working the tip of your rod, but when you're sight fishing, you realize how far you're pulling your bait out of the fish's zone. And once you've seen that, visually seeing that, it makes you think about your sinker size different, your colors different, your profiles different, how you work your bait. You think about everything totally different when you spend a bunch of time watching how your bait reacts in the water. It'll help you understand fall rate. It'll help you understand what size sinker to use and what profiles. And it opens up a whole new window of understanding when you sight fish. Sight fishing will teach me what my bait acts like in the water. It'll teach me about fall rate. It'll teach me about actually moving or retrieving my lure, what it looks like. But, most importantly, what sight fishing will teach you, it will teach you what fish use to spawn. So a lot of times when we go to Florida, we have Florida tournaments, they're almost always around the spawn. Fish in Florida, they spawn 6-8 months out of the year, I feel like. I don't think I've ever been fished a tournament in Florida and then not the word spawn not be the center of whatever you're doing. It's post spawn, they finish. It's pre-spawn, they're coming, or they are spawning. And spending so much time sight fishing early on right here at home, I had a good visual of what fish like to use to spawn, so I would know what targets to hit. And I could visually, even if the water was dark and tannic, I always knew that fish spawn beside something. I always use this analogy. It's really not an analogy. This is a fact. Bass doesn't have a mirror. He's never seen the rest of his body. They don't know that he's got 4 pounds of booty hanging out the back and fins, and they don't know that. If his eyes covered, he feels like he's hid. So a lot of times I'll fish for spawning bass around the smallest of structure. If you guys would go back to some of like my Okeechobee vlogs back 2021 pro circuit year, you would see me flipping these reeds, and it might be one single reed in the middle of this wiregrass. That one reed was enough to block that bass's eye, and he felt like he was hid. But bass will always spawn beside some type of vertical structure. It can be a dog piling, it could be a reed, it can be a stalk of grass, it can be a stick, it can be a dark spot on the bottom. They like to spawn by those things. So anytime you're around the spawn, if you've sight fished, you know what structure to look for. You can imagine, even if it's dark water, because sight fishing or fishing around the spawn is not always sight fishing. And sight fishing is not always fishing around the spawn. There's two different categories here. But oftentimes when fish are spawning, we visually can see them. And when you practice visually fishing for fish, when you can't see them, you have a better idea of what the fish is doing, where he's going to set up, and the baits that you need to use, the sizes and the profiles. So I suggest that you guys do some sight fishing. It'll teach you a lot about bass behavior. I just got through checking out the Fishing Chaos app, looking at all you guys' catches from the Straight Up Fishing Spring Classic. Y'all fish more than me. I don't know how y'all ranking up all these fish already. Can you take me fishing? All right. But this is super exciting to see you guys enthused about the event. It's going really well right now. There's a couple reminders that I need to remind you of. Of course, this is a competition, so you got to follow the rules. Look at all the rules on shopblat.com, my YouTube videos, the links there. You do have to have an official board. I'll link all the boards and the videos and Facebook and Instagram. You got the links. If you don't use those boards, your catch will not count. It will be illegal. When you're measuring your fish, make sure you butt it up to the front of the measuring board and make sure the mouth is closed, or the catch will not count. No open mouths, no illegal boards. Everybody's got to use the same thing, so the competition is fair for everyone. All right, y'all keep catching them.